I have avoided it as long as I can, so it is compression test time. I've already pulled the fuse for the fuel pump, started it, let it run out of gas, pulled the battery, pulled the spark plug. So put the compression test kit on there, put the battery back in, crank it over without any fuel, see what we get. All right, I've come to terms with the reality, or what I suspect is the reality, which I expect is a piston ring problem on cylinder 2, where I'm getting essentially zero compression. So far I went ahead and tested everything else, 155 PSI on 4 and 1, and 175 PSI on cylinder 3. So not too worried about those numbers. But my battery is not the right battery. It's the cheapest battery from Walmart. Doesn't have, it's got a pretty low cold cranking amps. So the next thing I'm gonna do, you know, this is my fault. Putting an engine together, not checking everything properly, and slapping it back in the car. You know, pistons looked okay to me. I didn't worry about it, and I didn't think that was a problem. But I also didn't do a leak down test before I pulled the engine. So lesson learned, and do a leak down test. So that's what I've done, the compression test. Now I'm just going to try to use the same hose from the compression test and plug my air supply into it. I'll try to get a quick video of that. Okay, so to use the compression hose, you first have to take the valve out of the end of that. Like, honestly, I just had like a bicycle tool for removing a Schrader valve. Screwed that out. But then on the hose side, the supply side, this fitting doesn't go into, or at least mine does not go into a normal quick connect on compressors. So I'm just using this, and I'll kind of punch it down in there. I don't know how well this is going to work, but that's what I'm going to try. Since I'm not really getting compression, I can't feel, you know, air coming out of this as the piston is on its way up on the compression stroke. I'm just going to gently put a screwdriver down there, and I have a 50-50 shot of getting, should be able to watch the screwdriver move out as the piston comes out. And then I'll have a 50-50 shot on whether it's the compression stroke or the exhaust stroke, so I'll probably just do the leak down test twice. See what the differences are.
I'll put the screwdriver. Now it's time to go down. Make sure. Yeah, it's going down. I'll come back up just a little.
So that's TDC. I just don't know if it's compression or exhaust, but I'll just do the test twice. I expect air is going to come out here. We'll see. Pretty sure I do feel air coming out of the intake, which is odd. Okay, so now the pistons going back down. back up. I think that's it. I must go a little bit past it to make sure. Starting to go right down. Okay. Let's try it again. Assuming that's going out the exhaust, but it's definitely not going into the crankcase. It's not coming out of the intake this time. Must be going out the exhaust. So that's interesting, coming out the intake. So there's a new head with adjusted valves. Guess I could check my timing, because it could have been going out both intake and exhaust. So. Alright, I want to confirm my results. So I took the little end off of here, this. Now I'm going to jam on there and use a little bit of Teflon tape and then tape down the trigger just so I can kind of do a little bit better investigating. See if this works any better. You know, I don't need perfect, I just need good enough. I'm not taking it on a test drive, I'm just shoving air in there. That seems to work pretty good. Definitely coming out the intake. Second, and definitely coming out the exhaust. I've got a little bit better setup. I did this again on number 2. Yeah, getting the air out of the intake. Turned it up to 80 psi, and then just kind of moved the crank a little bit to just make sure I was at TDC. Pretty sure I was just getting air through the intake right up there. So I'm going to try to reproduce on cylinder 1, and now I just got that cranked down with electrical tape and a little bit of Teflon tape in here, and then I don't turn my air on until I'm all hooked up. I'm only at 40 psi, but I can hear that leaking, so I thought. I mean, that sounds totally different. There's nothing happening. I mean, it's just quiet. I did forget to mention, I did turn the crank over before I started on number 1. I mean, I figured if number 2 was on the compression stroke TDC, when I put my screwdriver in here, it was already TDC. I assumed that must be the exhaust. So I cranked it over until it got back to TDC. And that should be the compression stroke. And I think part of the reason my janky air connection isn't holding is because the air's not going anywhere, as it shouldn't. So it's got to be valve clearance, most likely, or timing. If it was timing, I would think it would affect more than one cylinder. But what do I know? I'm gonna do some calculating and figure out how I can check valve clearance in car. Go from there.